Yeah, so Madhikoji, we can start now. So, friends,
So, can you see the screen?
yeah, so friends, we have with us, our good friend Mr. Madhukar Swambhu with us, and he has been a TEDx speaker and has won many awards. Awarded by Jal Shakti Mantralaya as Water Hero as well, and has authored many, one of the global, top three author on water by Smart Water Magazine Spain as well, and has been giving lectures in top notch in Indian as well as international institute like IIPA, FSM, NIRI, NIFTM. And I have seen personally a couple of water bodies as well. So water is very, very important part of our Panchtattva. So, and water, soil, and air. So the topic, today's topic is Vedic approach towards resurrection of native ecology in soil, water, and air. And and this is in collaboration with iWatch. iWatch is a think tank, a top level think tank set up by our chairman, Mr. Krishan Khanna, in 1992, based in Mumbai. And iWatch also has been working in water space, including rainwater harvesting, safe drinking water, sanitation, STP, ETP. And Mr. Krishan Khanna, our chairman, has written a book also, Transforming India. So, Madhukar Swambhu also is transforming India by rejuvenating and resurrecting native ecology in soil, water, and air. So, without wasting much time, I will straight go to Madhukar Swambhuji. Madhukarji, over to you. You can start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to confirm that the screen is visible to everybody.
Yeah, the screen is visible and you're audible very well.
Okay. So, what we are going to discuss today is, as the screen says, Vedic approach towards the resurrection of native ecology. Now, how does Vedas come and how does the Vedic science play its role is what we'll be covering in the upcoming slides. So, first thing first, we'll start with the crisis. Though we all understand that there is a crisis, more than 54% of the country is under water stress. More than 22% of the underground water table has been depleted. In spite of the fact that Jal Hai To Kal Hai, Jal Hi Jeevan Hai, all those slogans and all those projects have been there for last 40 years. So basically, if you look at the crisis, whether it is urban or rural, like soil, water, and air. Like the unsolved problems in urban side is we don't know what to do with the sewage, all the water bodies are polluted, air pollution is increasing. All the cities across the globe, drinking water scarcity is increasing, and the aquifer recharge is a big problem. How do we recharge it? In spite of the rainwater harvesting apparatus, which is mandatory by most of the municipal corporations, still the aquifer recharge is not happening. It is
Just one
actually
sec. Sorry,
reversing.
request others to please go on mute. I can see Tantra Foundation Library on.
Yeah, hi.
So there may be a distance. Thank you very much. Please go on mute. Thank you. Please go ahead. Sorry for disturbance. Please go ahead, Madhukarji.
No issues. It's good that people grasp it more because communication is all about what people understand, what people carry over. I mean, less than what I'm speaking, more importantly, what people are able to grasp out of my entire talk, more importantly. So the urban side, we all know we are all living in the urban area. Rural side also, if you look at it, there is a derailed economy, unsustainable livelihood. Farmers are under distress. Water crisis there, whether it is for drinking or for irrigation. People are on the move from rural to urban side. That is why we need smart cities because the urban population has exceeded the rural population of the world way back in 2007 itself. That was when the UN called in for a convention to discuss the idea of megacity. And no farmer is interested that the next generation of his makes farming as a career. Right? So all these stresses are there, and the public administration has to deal with all of them. But if you look at it, all of them will boil down to same soil, water, and air. Now, what I discussed in the first slide, uh, where does Vedas come in between? Where does Vedic science come? So whatever approaches for Jal hai to Kal hai, Jal hi Jeevan hai is being deployed so far, all of them have been inspired by the Western science. And the Western science and the Vedic science, there is a difference of ideology. Western science says water is H2O, soil is dirt, and air is mixed gases. So these are all dead substances. Man is an intelligent being, and it is God's gift to the planet. So we are the supreme, we are intelligent, we just have to understand the process of nature, and we need to tame the nature to use it as a resource. Whereas the ideology in the Vedic science is completely different. Critical power gagan samira, panchatattva mein bana chalega. There are five elements of life on this planet, which is soil, water, air, fire, and cosmic energy. Now, these five elements make life happen on the planet, and human beings are just a manifestation of the nature. Nature is supreme. Nature is so supreme that the Vedic science says it is worth worshipping. Okay, now, that is why India is the only civilization which could come up with this kind of a concept. The shlok which is written in front of you is पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते, which means if you take whole out of whole, still what is left is whole, and what has been taken out is also whole. And this stands possibly incorrect in case of mathematics. Practically, what we are saying is 2 minus 2 equal to 2. But this stands 100% true in case of life sciences and in case of natural sciences. So it is like even into mathematics, if you have to understand it, 0 minus 0 equal to 0, and infinity minus infinity equal to infinity. So this is the level of understanding that we have for the nature, for the life, right? Now, to understand it from the perspective of life sciences, when a mother gives a birth to a baby, the baby is a complete unit, and the mother is also a complete unit. So you've taken a whole out of whole, and still what is left is whole. What you've taken out is also a whole. So that is our level of understanding of nature and life. And that is why when we take a Vedic science approach towards the global problems, even the pollution, we'll understand how fulfilling it is and how holistic view it has got. Now, let us first understand, because we are talking about soil, water, and air. We understand the apparatus where all three of them meet. So, bottom is soil, then we have water, and then we have air. That is a combination in which all the three ecologies meet in case of a water body. Now, nature has given a lot of responsibilities to a water body. So the bottom layer of soil has got soil capillaries, which will connect the surface water body to the underground aquifer. And the water travels vertically between the two through the soil capillaries. Now, when the water is going downwards, it is taking the excess minerals along. When the water is coming upwards, it is taking the required minerals along. Now, how it happens is basically the name soil capillaries. It is basically working on the capillary force. The water moves from higher concentration to lower concentration in capillary action. So during monsoon, when it is raining, the pressure on the okay. So I was talking about the functions of a water body. So one is the aquifer recharge, wherein whenever it rains during the monsoon, the water will travel from surface water body to the underground aquifer. On the other hand, when during peak of summers, when the evaporation rate is high, water will be pulled up from the aquifer to the surface water body because the pressure in the aquifer will be high and the pressure on the surface water body will be reduced because the evaporation rate is high. So this is one kind of exchange which happens with the soil layer. Again, within the water body, there is an aquatic food chain. So there are single-celled organisms which are autotrophic in nature. They do photosynthesis, they do methane synthesis, they do sulfur synthesis, and they are consumed by the planktons. Planktons in turn are consumed by the bigger complex organism like fishes, and the fish excreta is ammonia, which is again neutralized by the single-celled organism. So this is the aquatic food chain which goes on and on. Now the photosynthesis process needs photons which come obviously in form of the sunlight. Sunlight provides the photon, but apart from photons, what it also needs is carbon. So carbon sequestration will happen in any natural water body when the water body will absorb the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere for the sake of photosynthesis. This photosynthesis is a very important phenomena because this is the source of production of dissolved oxygen within the water body. Now, the same dissolved oxygen is required by all the aerobic organisms within the water body for breathing, right? So, the photosynthesis process is on, therefore, carbon sequestration is also happening, a consistent production of dissolved oxygen is also happening, and the air pollution mitigation also happens basically because the top surface of the natural water body is negatively charged. It is because of the way water molecule is designed. Water molecule has got oxygen in center, two hydrogen plus ions in the bottom, and two electron with a negative charge on the top. That is how the molecule becomes bipolar, and that is how the top surface is negatively charged while the bottom is positively charged. So in a water body wherein all the molecules are together, the top surface becomes by default naturally charged. What we call as air pollution is particulate matter, which are the free flowing solid particles in the air. They are all positively charged. So unlike charges attract each other and all the particulate matter gets settled onto the top of the water body and air pollution mitigation is done. So these are the natural responsibilities of any water body. Now coming on to the contamination, how does the contamination happen? The water body gets contaminated naturally also. So let us first understand the natural contamination process. Whenever there is any natural activity like a typhoon or a volcanic eruption or a earthquake or a tsunami or anything of that sort, the aquatic organisms are more vulnerable to them. They are able to sense it much faster because water is a very good media for sensing the vibrations, sensing the radiations. And when they understand that there is some kind of activity happening, they get scared and they excrete too much. Their excreta is ammonia. So too much of ammonia will lead to eutrophication of water, which we call as air water pollution. Other activities like volcanic eruption. Into volcanic eruption, the lava comes in the last. What is erupted for the first, as the first sequence of volcanic eruption, is a lot of dust, which consists of all heavy metals and minerals and all that. All this is pushed up in the air as particulate matter, and then eventually it will settle down onto the top surface of the water body. So heavy metals and minerals are coming. Right? Whenever there is any typhoon or just like a tempest or a twister or anything of that sort happens, all the vegetation on the embankment of a water body will shed their leaves and fruits and seeds and all that will come into the water body. This will add too much of phosphate to the water body, and that is how excess of phosphate will come in. So we have understood that the water body gets polluted through natural causes also, which can be phosphates, nitrates, sulfates, and heavy metals and minerals and everything. So possibly whatever kind of pollution that we know today, whether it is domestic sewage or industrial effluent, all that can happen without human intervention also. So when it gets added to the water body, there is a defense mechanism or a self-healing mechanism of aqua ecology in which nature creates weeds. So weeds will come, they'll absorb excess of nitrates and phosphates, they'll consume it, but when they are consuming it, their feed is also getting finished. So eventually their entire feed will be finished, so weeds will come, they'll flourish, and they will eventually starve to death because their feed is finished. So they'll starve, they'll sink, and they will again be decomposed like any other biological waste. So the life goes on. That is the contamination and decontamination process of the water body. Now enter human being. Human being produce sewage, human beings produce industrial effluent. Sewage consists of primarily ammonical compounds and phosphates. Industrial effluent will have nitrate, nitrite, phosphate, sulfate, heavy metals and minerals like paint and dye industry and leather industry and all that. Right? So this contamination is not a problem because water body knows how to deal with it. The problem is this contamination will be added on a daily basis. So weeds will come, but they will never go because when weeds will come, they'll finish off the feed which has been added to the water body as overload of nutrients or contamination. But by the time they finish this, next day the fresh feed will come in. So weeds will come and they'll continue to grow, continue to flourish. Eventually, weeds will cover up the entire top surface of the water body. Now, this is the point from where the chain reaction starts. Now, first and foremost, the coverage of the top surface of the water body, what it will do is it will reflect the sunlight. So the sunlight will not penetrate into the water body but get reflected. When the penetration into the water is not happening, by default, the photon supply will get compromised. When the photon supply is compromised, the photosynthesis process will not happen. When the photosynthesis process is not happening, the greenhouse gas sequestration will not happen and the DO production will get compromised. So all the aerobic life will cease to exist because they will get suffocated to death. So when they suffocate, they are all biological beings. So their uh, carcasses will actually add to an increase into biological oxygen demand because oxygen demand is increasing. Demand is increasing and daily addition is also increasing the chemical oxygen demand. So the demand is increasing. On the other hand, the production is what we have stopped. So that is how the contamination will continue to happen, and eventually, what will result it into is the top surface covered with weed, DO production compromised, BOD COD is going up. Now the digestion which was supposed to happen aerobically will now happen anaerobically because nature will create anaerobic life there because the dissolved oxygen is not available. So only organisms which can survive in absence of oxygen are anaerobic beings. Now, when the anaerobic digestion happens, the byproduct is hydrogen sulfide, because of which we get a foul smell around the water body. So the daily addition of sewage is contributing towards rise in the chemical and the biological oxygen demand, creating an environment for anaerobic digestion because of which the foul smell is coming in. The top surface is covered with weeds. The water viscosity is increasing. Water will appear to be darker and darker because the viscosity is increasing. So it will eventually start appearing as black water, and this black water will have high viscosity, so it will be almost a standstill water. This still water is the best breeding ground for the mosquitoes. So mosquitoes have come, weeds have come, foul smell has come. Now the final stage of the deathbed is when the suspended and the dissolved solids will settle down in the bottom of the tank as sludge. Now the soil capillaries are also choked, so the water is captive between the top layer of uh, weeds and the bottom layer of sludge. Now the water is decaying and the water body is on the deathbed. So this is how the water body gets contaminated. Now our approach based on Vedic science is we have to study the water body first. That is the first process. For the study, we need to have the map location so that we can determine which agroclimatic zone is the water body, what is the natural condition of soil, water, and air into that particular agroclimatic zone. So we understand our destination, where do we have to take the water body. Second is we need the photo and the video of the surface of water and the plantation on the embankment so that we can determine what kind of leaves and fruits and flowers or seeds will fall into the natural condition. So, what is the amount of phosphate that will be added whenever there is any natural event like a typhoon or windy weather or anything of that sort? And then we need the list of problems that we need to deal with, whether we have foul smell or we have mosquito colonies or we have weeds. If weeds, what kind of weeds? Do we have azolla or hydrilla or we have hyacinth? Because these weeds are also varying on the level of their reproduction and the ruggedness. Like azolla is the fastest breeding weed. So if a normal weed will take, let's say, 3 months to cover the entire surface, azolla will take hardly about 15 to 20 days. So there is a different treatment for a different problem. So we need to have the list of the problem. And if possible, we need to have the sample of the water with a white background so that we can get the right color of the water. So based on these inputs, we conduct the study. Once we have conducted the study, we make a medicine. Now this medicine is 100% botanical extract made out of herbs and shrubs and flowers and barks of the tree or leaves or seeds. And this concentrated concoction, the concentrated medicine, which is in a liquid form, is then diluted into the fresh water from the same agroclimatic zone and released into the water. When it is released into the water in presence of sunlight, the synthesis of the entire medicine will happen. That will resurrect the ecology. Now, when I say ecology, it is a larger domain in which subsets are physics, chemistry, and biology. So I'll just explain how the medicine works when it is released into the water body. Now this is the what we call as Cownomics concentrate. This concentrate is diluted in the fresh water from the same agroclimatic zone as the water body, and then it is released into the water body. So it might look like a spray, but that was the best depiction. But you don't have to spray it, it is simply poured into the water body. And once it is poured into the water body gets supplied with millions and millions of electrons. These are the free electrons. Now, within the water body, I told you the sewage will have a lot of phosphates and sulfates and nitrates. Now, looking at just to cite an example, a phosphate molecule is a PO3 or PO4. When the electron exchange happens, phosphorus and oxygen is separated. Oxygen gets mixed into the dissolved oxygen, so the DO level will go up, and the single atom of phosphorus is separated. Now, this is what is happening on the chemical layer. Now, on a biophysical layer, what happens is every electron has got a charge of 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, which is good enough a charge for a single celled organism to get a CPR shock. When they get the shock of their life, they come back to life. Right now, they were into dormant condition, into any contaminated water body because they were not having enough oxygen to breathe. So they had gone dormant. The best part about the microbiota is they don't die. They go dormant or they are active. So when the situation is not favorable, they go dormant. Now, when they get the shock, they come back to life, and what they need is oxygen to breathe. So the DO level is already made up by decomposition of a phosphate molecule. So the oxygen is available for them to breathe, so they'll breathe. Now, the second problem is something to eat. So the single atom of phosphorus which has been separated from a phosphate molecule is something that they can eat. So and then these are single-celled organisms, so their propagation or multiplication into number is done by cell division multiplexing. So one single cell will eat, and it will get divided into two, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and likewise the number will go up. So the resurrection of microbiota is basically increasing the biological decomposition. So the BOD is supposed to go up because the number is going up, but then you are also producing the DO. So the amount of DO that you are producing is getting consumed by the increased BOD, and that is how you would not see too much of a change in a DO level or a BOD level. On the COD level, the chemical oxygen demand, which is required for the chemical decomposition, because the decomposition is happening due to electron exchange. So the oxygen requirement for the chemical reaction is reduced. So the COD will go down, the suspended solids will go down, and that is how the resurrection process is happening because this decomposition is happening of the suspended solid, and the oxygen is not required for this reaction to happen because it is happening because of electron exchange. So the day we start the treatment, there will be a sharp dip into the suspended solids and the chemical oxygen demand. Whereas DO and BOD will remain stable. If they were showing that there is zero DO, it will continue to show zero DO because whatever DO is being produced, that is being consumed by the BOD. Another important factor which will happen is before the treatment started, the anaerobic digestion was happening. So anaerobic digestion means you need to have anaerobic bacteria. And these anaerobic bacteria are there into the fecal coliform. So the fecal coliform count would be high before the treatment. And once the treatment starts, the fecal coliform count will continue to reduce because now there are native microbiota are definitely there into the water body, but these are not anaerobic in nature, rather they are aerobic in nature. So the total coliform count will continue to remain the same because the anaerobic bacteria are becoming dormant and the aerobic microbes are back to life. So fecal coliform will drop, but the total coliform remains the same. That is how the resurrection process will start. And then eventually the dredging of the bottom sludge will start and the water depth will increase. So water is actually not going down, it is reclaiming the space which was claimed by the sludge earlier. Because of this microbial life back into action and doing their metabolic activity, all the sludge layer will continue to get consumed and the water will reclaim all that space which was earlier occupied by the sludge. So eventually when the entire sludge layer is consumed, the soil capillaries will reopen and the surface water body will get in contact with the underground aquifer, which means uh, the aquifer recharge will start and during the peak of summers when the water bodies get dried, this water body will not get dried because the water will be pulled up from the aquifer during the peak of the summers. So water body is gone perennial, the aquifer recharge has started, there is no foul smell, no mosquitoes, weeds are gone because the feed for the weed is getting consumed in the natural ecological way. So there is no feed for the weeds and eventually weeds will also go, and the air pollution mitigation is also happening because in the natural water body the particulate matter will get attracted to the water body, and the carbon sequestration is also happening. So it is the best quality of the water because all the desired components of the water and desired responsibilities showered upon the water body are now intact, and water body is taking care of all of them. So this is how the resurrection process happens. Now, before I move on to the application side, if anyone has got any queries, maybe you can address that because the technology part is over.
Yes, if anyone has any question, can ask now, or we can have Q&A post you complete the whole presentation.
So I guess we'll
I think
keep
you
it
can
in
continue.
the end only because nobody's asking
Yeah, yeah,
any queries.
yes,
So
yes.
coming on to the application side, if you look at urban development or rural development, water resources, agriculture, animal husbandry, smart city, disaster management, all of them are ultimately linked to water bodies only, right? You call it a flood mitigation, air pollution mitigation, drought mitigation, everything is linked to water body. Now, as I said, let's look at the urban challenges first. Sewage, water body rejuvenation, air pollution, drinking water and aquifer recharge, all of them are the key problems. And I guess everybody is quite aware how do we take care of this. If the water bodies are in natural condition, these problems would not occur, right? So the solution that we have is we treat the water body, let the sewage come into the water body, we treat the water body in situ conditions, and the same water body gets transformed into a fresh water body in spite of whatever sewage is coming in. Because if the aqua ecology is in good health, then it is capable of taking care of whatever contamination is coming in. Now, the revenue can come from the carbon credits of the rejuvenated water body. The same water body is doing aquifer recharge and replenishment of the water table also. From the same water body, we can lift water and we can do the whatever treatment we want, and we can make it available for the people and for irrigation purpose also. And when the water body is in good condition, it is taking care of air pollution as it is because it is doing a greenhouse gas sequestration also, and it is doing particulate matter absorption also. Coming on to the rural side, the problems on the rural side is again, we all know, and how it is taken care of is whether it is the domestic sewage from the village or industrial effluent from the industries, let all of it come into the water body. Again, here I'm showing animal husbandry. Usually, most of the people have got biogas plants. So, once the fuel is taken out of the biogas plant, what is left is the slurry. Now, slurry is, you can call it a waste from the biogas plant. Let that waste also come into this water body itself, wherein we can do the treatment and we transform this water, which is the inlet is from the wastewater and the collection of the biogas slurry. We can transform this water into neuroimmuno booster for the plants and the animals. So the same water can be used for irrigating the farmland. There is a process, we call it ecological integral farming. That's the way we can do the farming. And there is no need for any um chemicals or fertilizer, insecticide, pesticide, nothing is required. The farm becomes resilient towards diseases, pests, and weather conditions. All the chemicals are eradicated, no antibiotics are required even into animal husbandry, and we get the highest quality and the quantity from both animal farm as well as the agriculture farm. Additionally, if carbon credits can be measured, so every pond can generate its own revenue in form of carbon credits. So that is solving the rural economy problem also. Now coming on to whatever I've shared till now, the second section is also over from the application perspective and the technology perspective. Now I'm coming on to some of the implemented case studies wherein This technology has already been deployed and worked fine. This is Motipur Kai Lake in Rajanandgaon. Here you can see there is this lake, and there is a huge colony all around, and that entire colony sewage is coming in. So there was a sewage problem, unbearable foul smell, algal bloom, mosquitoes, and the same water body was used for all sorts of research. So this was the first government project that we picked up. The date is mentioned here, 21st of August 2019, and this was the first project that we did. And within 1 month, there was a substantial change in all the parameters. The foul smell disappeared in a matter of 3 days from the first treatment. The mosquitoes were gone in a matter of about 10 to 15 days. The algal bloom was controlled in a matter of about 20-25 days. And I think after 2 or 3 weeks, there was this Ganesh Chaturthi festival. So all that Visarjan and all also happened in the same water body with all that chemical toxins coming in due to Visarjan. But still, it was very well maintained, and we continued with this project from August of 2019. We treated this water body till March of 2020. This is Eduri Lake in Ahmedabad. This was the condition. There was a huge fungal growth in the water. Bad odor was there. Algal bloom was there. And there was a massive sludge deposition. You can see the water is receding and the sludge is increasing. And this is a 13-day transformation wherein you can see the suspended solids were down to 70% in just a matter of 13 days of treatment. Uh, then there is, as I said, the parameters will reflect in almost every case. Then there is Shilwala Park. This is in Delhi, wherein the same problem. There was a foul smell, mosquito breeding site. You can see how thick is water. The viscosity is so high. There is all algal bloom, fat oil and grease layer. You can see, right? There were no birds. There were only scavengers. Uh, so it was overall a very bad ambient. And this is this is 4th of June and this is 19th of June. Just a 15 days difference. You can see how much of difference is there into water. The flock of birds had reappeared. The water was wavy, and everything was back into its condition. We did this for a month time, and because this was a trial project from Delhi Development Authority. Now this is Moa Lake in Raipur. Again, here the problem was entirely different. These water lilies had covered the entire top surface. This is 16th of October. This is 16th of November 2019. Just in 1 month, all the water lilies were dried down, sunken in water, and decomposed biologically. Right. Rest of the problems remains the standard here as well. Now, this is Prasad Nagar Lake in Delhi. This we did for 2 months to prove it to Delhi Development Authority. You can see the algal bloom in before condition, and this is the after condition. Within 62 days, as I said, fecal coliform is totally absent, wherein it was 7 into 10 to the power 7 when pre-treatment conditions. So the TSS had gone down by 85%, COD by 95%, BOD by 98%, phosphorus by 67%, and fecal coliform completely absent by 100% in a matter of 62 days. So that is how it uh, transforms a water body. Now the good part is you would have observed that whatever water bodies I have spoken till now, all the examples that I've given, all the 5 examples were of lakes or ponds. So basically they were all standing water bodies. Now coming on to the flowing water bodies, how it works in flowing water body. This is Mandakini River in Chitrakoot district, Satna, Madhya Pradesh. Now this is a river which we had to treat. This river was contaminated to a very high extent, and it started flooding in the year 2015. 15, 16, 17, 3 years continuous when it flooded. MP State Pollution Control Board took a cognizance of the situation, and they got an approval for erecting a sewage treatment plant. 17 the project started, 18 the project was handed over, but it still flooded in 18. Flood continued in 19, and it was in 19 December when the chief municipal officer was looking out for a different solution, and he came to know about our solution. So we treated the water body for a month's time from 12th of January till 12th of February, from this condition to this condition. People were really happy with it. And 2020 it rained more than 2019, but this year it did not flood. Right? So these are the kind of transformation which happens now. What people don't relate to is when it comes to a water body treatment, the sewage treatment plant would naturally not be the right solution because sewage treatment plant can only treat the fresh inlet which is coming in. It doesn't, it can't treat the water which is already there into the water body. And the problem is there into the water which is already there, not the fresh water which is coming in. Because even if the fresh water is made pure to the extent of Ganga Jal, still the contaminated water which is already there into the water body also needs a lot of treatment. The sludge needs to be removed. The water viscosity has to improve. The transparency has to improve. So these are the aspects which are very, very important when it comes to treatment of the water body. So maybe treatment of the sewage or the effluent is something that can be done by ATP or an STP. But once it is discharged into a natural water body, there the STP or ETP treatment would not be effective for a very logical reason. Now, these were all the projects that were all done. Now, coming on to some ongoing projects. This is Kudikunta Lake in Hyderabad, wherein 2.8 to 3.5 million liters sewage comes in every day. This is an 8-acre lake, and we partnered with Society for Advancement of Human Endeavors, which is led by Madam Kalpana Ramesh, who was one of the 7 ladies who managed the Prime Minister's Twitter handle on the Women's Day in 2020. Now, she had adopted this lake and she was treating this lake for almost 3, 4 years. This lake was actually, it had turned down into a literal dump yard wherein all the solid in the liquid waste, everything was being dumped, and all the new societies which were coming up, they were all letting loose their sewage directly into this water body. And then she organized, she reclaimed the water body, and things started improving. But the key challenge was of the uh, foul smell and the mosquito breeding and all those problems which were there. The water quality improvement was not happening in spite of reclamation of the entire lake. So landscaping, reclamation, stone pitching, embankment strengthening, everything had happened. And by that virtue, there was a lot of improvement already done into the lake. They tried using bioremediation, phytoremediation, floating islands. Almost all the technologies possible were all tried by Kalpana ji. And then finally, it so happened that me and Kalpana ji got the Water Hero Award the same month from the Jal Shakti Mantralaya. And that is how we came in contact. When she came to know about our technology, she was interested in trying it out into her Kodikunta Lake as well. So the project started on 1st of October. We continued it for about 9, 10 months. And you can see the condition from 1st of October to 1st of February, what was the difference. It's already there in front of you on the screen. Another big thing which happened here is 1st of October, the project started. 15th of October, there was a return monsoon which took a break journey in Hyderabad. And entire Hyderabad was flooded because it broke down last 100 years of records of rain in the month of October. So entire Hyderabad was flooded. But this water body, wherein we were treating just for 15 days, thanks to her earlier experiments, that there was already a lot which had already happened because of bioremediation, phytoremediation, and all that. So the day we started doing the resurrection work of the native ecology, the water body reacted very well to it, and everything started happening in a much faster pace. End resultant was when this return monsoon had a break in Hyderabad. All the water bodies, there are about 180 water bodies in Hyderabad, all of them were flooded. But this one was still about a feet below the embankment area. So that's the efficacy of the solution. This is another project that is Lal Dighi Lake in Ayodhya, wherein 5 MLD, 5 million liter of sewage, 50 lakh liter of sewage is coming in every day into this 5-acre lake. And here again, we were working with an NGO partner, community friendly movement, who picked up the project, and everything was, you can see, I mean, the difference is what you can see. How hyacinth was there earlier and how you can see water now. So this project was on until August, and just in the month of August we completed it. It was basically because they had come up with a tender for water body rejuvenation, into which this lake was also a part of it. So that tender is under evaluation, and this is how the resurrection happens. There is a video for the CEO of Ayodhya Development Authority, wherein he is talking to the media, Mr. Vishal Sindhu, wherein he has given a statement. They before the treatment started, this because the entire sewage of the city was coming into this water body. They every night they had to run a pump to pump out the excess water so that the civil lines area doesn't get flooded with the outflow or the flooding of the Lal Dighi Lake. But after about 1.5 months of treatment, that pump was no more required to run, and this saved the Ayodhya Nagar Nigam a sum of rupees 40 lakh on annual basis. So that is the level of transformation which has happened. And in case if you are interested, all these case studies that I have discussed today in the presentation, the video case studies are there onto our YouTube channel, which in case if you are interested, you can just log on to our YouTube channel and study those videos. So those were the projects which are ongoing for almost 8-9 months now. These are some other projects which are going on. Uh, a couple of projects in Haryana. There is a model town drain rejuvenation in Punjab, which is in situ remediation of a drain, wherein untreated and treated sewage is coming in. This is about 10 MLD of sewage which is coming in on a regular basis. We're treating it. The project has been given by Punjab State Pollution Control Board. There are a couple of industrial projects that we are also working on, wherein industrial wastewater we are treating in situ conditions. So these are some of the projects. These are some of our customers, largely municipal corporations and forest department in smart cities and uh, such kind of customers are there. This is a representation to the government. This is the chamber of Honorable Cabinet Minister for Jal Shakti, Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. And here you can see the Minister for State for Jal Shakti, Mr. Ratanlal Kataria. And here we have Mr. D.P. Mathuria, who is the Senior Technical Director for NMCG. And this is me, I'm giving the presentation with my colleague Shekhar, and the presentation is going on. This was all tweeted by the office of Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, wherein they had taken our presentation and they liked the presentation. They appreciated it over a tweet. These are some what Shri Ramji had given in the introduction, that where all I have been invited for giving the lecture. There was a presentation in Central Pollution Control Board. They had invited us to give a presentation on carbon sequestration. Indian Institute of Public Administration is, as the name suggests, it is meant for senior IAS officers, and they had invited us to train the IAS officers on uh, the concept of ecology and environment and ecological resurrection of the water bodies. Uh, Asian Development Research Institute is a research institute based out of Patna, and they had called in for the topic was very much similar to today's lecture. It was Vedic approach to wetland restoration, and it was chaired by the chairman of Bihar State Pollution Control Board, Dr. Ashok Ghosh. Then we've also been invited into the mini platform, wherein we have given our presentation along with the various dignitaries from the water industry, including the activist and waterman of India and technical director NMCG, director NITI, ex-director NITI, and I mean people of that kind of stature have been invited along. I mean, and we also shared the same platform with them. Now, these are a couple of coverage in the news of whatever projects we are working upon. Uh, this is Mathura, this is Hyderabad, uh, this is Manchiganga, again UP, this is Chhattisgarh, this one is Jharkhand, this is Madhya Pradesh, this is also Jharkhand, this is Uttar Pradesh, this is Madhya Pradesh, and so on and so forth. This one is Times of India in Delhi. This is also Delhi. This is Jharkhand. Now, incidentally, we've been awarded as number three author by Smart Water Magazine in Spain, and this is a global ranking. So, we have our articles have been published in various magazines across India and across the globe. Um, as Sri Ramji introduced, I've been a TED speaker on Smart Water Magazine ranking, and the rest is all social media. Our podcast is heard into 29 countries across the globe today, and we have a YouTube channel. We've given Sangam Talk, we've given TED Talk. So that's about it. Now, you can ask your queries. If anyone has any queries, you may please come up with your questions.
Yes. So please, anyone who wants to ask any question, any queries, if they have, please, please feel free to ask. Thank you. You can unmute yourself and ask question.
नागेश जी आप कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं नागेश झा जी
Yeah, Mr. Murli Menon also wanted to ask some
Yes, yes.
question.
Actually, it is clear. Actually, I am obliged. I am thankful that you have enlightened me about a lot, but there are a lot of things to be done at Ranchi itself. So I will be in touch. सर एक रिक्वेस्ट था कि ये पूरी जो आपने प्रेजेंटेशन दी इसकी एक वीडियो मिलती तो हम आपका पब्लिक रिलेशन ऑफिसर बन के हम रांची के अथॉरिटी से बात करते देन आई वुड हैव कम बैक टू यू आपने
इसका
बहुत अच्छा
इसका प्रेजेंटेशन रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है, ये शेयर कर लिया जाएगा
हाँ
सभी
तो ये रिकॉर्डिंग हमें सर चाहिए थी और आपने बहुत ही अच्छा रादर मतलब क्या कहूं मैं इतना खुश हूं कि मैं क्या आई कैन नॉट एक्सप्रेस इट बहुत अच्छा लगा सर आई एम ऑब्लाइज रादर
थैंक यू झा साहब सो नाइस टू सी यू
और हमें केवल इसकी एक वीडियो भेज
एडमायरेशन इज
देंगे
म्यूचुअल
मैं आपका पब्लिक रिलेशन ऑफिसर के हिसाब से रांची शहर में मैं कुछ करूंगा सर बस यही मैं आप अभी यही कह सकता हूं द रेस्ट लेट द टाइम विल टेल बट आई एम इंटरेस्टेड
जी सर बिल्कुल we'll work together. There's absolutely no second thought about it.
Yeah,
और ये रिकॉर्डिंग जब YouTube पे अपलोड होगा तो आपके साथ लिंक शेयर कर लेंगे सर.
so kind of you, sir. So kind of you.
Thank you sir. Anybody else any queries?
Yes. Anybody else? If Murli ji, आप कुछ पूछना चाह रहे थे तभी. Mr. Menon, you wanted to ask some question that time.
Hello, Madhukarji, it was a very good presentation. And I am from Kerala. Kerala is a place where thousands of lakes, thousands, I tell you. Literally, most of the temples have its own lakes also, and none of them been maintained well. So definitely, I'm going to talk to the concerned authority about this system. But what is my question is, you have not touched any financial obligations. What kind of cost is this going to be?
So this was basically supposed to be a technical presentation, sir. I was supposed to explain the technology part. Commercial is
Right.
something that we can discuss offline, and Sriram ji will help you in understanding the commercial.
जी जी,
Okay.
इसमें कमर्शियल काफी चीजों में सब थोड़ा डिपेंड रहता है. जैसे उन्होंने 5-6 पॉइंट्स बताए थे कि क्वालिटी
Hmm.
ऑफ वाटर, कितना बड़ा एरिया है और आसपास का वेजिटेशन कैसा है, और वो 5-6 चीजें जो है वो देख के और फिर कितना कॉस्ट आएगा और कैसे कितना सीवेज आ रहा है और ओवरऑल एरिया के हिसाब से डिसाइड करते हैं. और बट वो भी डिस्कस कर लिया जाएगा. बट मधुकर जी, ये आप एक एग्जैक्ट नंबर्स मत बताइए, बट as compared to the current the traditional, not traditional, the modern, whatever this membrane and STP, ETP, WTP, whatever technology is being used currently, against those costs, how are we placed if we follow this
If
kind of treatment?
you look at the paper which has been published by IIT Kanpur, the Sea Ganga project, which is headed by Dr. Vinod Tare, they have published a paper on the sewage treatment plant, starting from commercial till now whatever technologies are available. So the cheapest possible sewage treatment plant technology will make a cost of about 5 to 6 rupees per KLD. That means per kiloliter per day. Uh, that is the cost of a sewage treatment plant. When you break it down, how much cost will it work? Because sewage treatment plant has got a capex as well as an opex, whereas in our case there is no capex at all because there is no civil construction, no permanent installation or anything of that sort is not happening. It is just an opex. Secondly, there is no gestation period because making of a sewage treatment plant will comfortably take about 1 to 2 years, whereas our treatment is something that you can start right from the next day. So if you compare it with the sewage treatment plant cost, I mean, we'll be about uh, fractions of the cost compared to the sewage treatment plant. If their cost is about 5 to 6 rupees per kiloliter per day, then our cost would be hardly about 1.5 to 2 rupees per kiloliter per day. So that is the amount of difference that we have. It is not in numbers; it is in times that we are more cost effective. Apart from being the most sustainable technology. I hope that answers your query, Sriramji and Murliji.
Yeah, Mr. Menon. So I mean, this is just a
Yeah.
ballpark. Yeah.
Then
And from me, hello, can you hear me?
नहीं अभी
yes.
Mr. Menon, are you done with your questions? Subaramu ji,
No, I
Mr.
have
Menon.
no.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Uh, this
Yeah, yeah.
application of
Please carry
this,
on, Mr. Menon.
yeah. No, this treatment it is how often we have to do. It is once for all, or every 6 months or 12 months we have to repeat.
Now, this is basically a process which is dependent upon the kind of contamination which is being added on a regular basis. As I said, this is a treatment which is done in situ condition. So, if there is domestic sewage or industrial effluent which is coming in, we won't ask you to actually divert or stop or do anything with the flow which is coming in. Now, if the contamination is coming in on a regular basis, of course, the treatment has to be done on a regular basis. But in case if you are able to isolate the water body, like a couple of projects that we were talking to authorities, they said we can isolate the water body and we can stop all the sewage which is coming in. So in that case, just 1 year treatment would be good enough to take the water body back to its original condition when it was created. Even if it was
Right.
500 years back or 600 years back, it will be back to the same condition when it was created.
Oh, good. That's very good, and thank you very much. And let us work on this. I will update Mr. Sriram on this.
Right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Subaramuji, you are asking some question.
I was just asking that to get an understanding of what it may cost. Can you give us the cost of the one of those lakes, like Eduri Lake in Ahmedabad or any other lake? What it costs to clean it? The 13-day thing that you told in Eduri Lake.
That was done free of cost, sir.
Of course, you would have had spent some money, right?
No, it's not a matter of spending some money. It is a matter of what payment did I get. Because
Okay,
I
what
did
would you
not
have
get
at,
any payment, so it was done free of cost.
okay, what would you have had charged? It was payable.
That's a hypothetical question, sir. If the customer is not paying, obviously I cannot charge anything. You see, whenever a new technology is introduced to the market,
Any other
we
lake?
would like
Any other lake? Madhukarji, any other lake where you have charged for it because you have done many lakes and all? Just a ballpark figure
well,
would
the
do. I
Ayodhya
think
project
that's what I
that
think
I
Subaramuji
just
would do.
discussed, the Aldi Lake in Ayodhya, that was with a CSR funding from Coca-Cola, and it costed 60 lakh rupees. 5 acre lake with 5 MLD of daily sewage input, 60 lakh rupees for I mean, almost 1 year, 11 months.
What is the size of that lake approximately?
5 acres and 5
Five
million liter of sewage coming in daily.
5 million liters of sewage coming in every day.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So that was in situ.
yeah.
Super. Well, that's exactly what I wanted to know. The number was 60 lakhs.
I didn't get you.
Did you say it costed 60 lakhs for the
Yeah,
client?
60 lakhs. Yeah,
This was the cost of the client. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Yes. Anyone else? If there are no questions, anyone else wants to ask? Okay. Great. I'd like to thank Madhukarji on behalf of iWatch and other team members. And thank you very much for enlightening us and giving us this presentation. We will come back to you with many of our fleet on street working in different cities and different states. iWatch has many members across, and we'll share the presentation with them. Some of them are not able to log in this today, but we'll share it and they'll definitely come back to you. Uh,
Right, sir.
and Mr. Krishan Khanna also like to speak to you later. We'll have a call arranged with him.
Right, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madhukarji. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.